The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Welcome to On Trial, starring Mark Radulich, also starring Sean Comer. Hope you're ready, Hollywood, because you're on trial.
Forgot to put us back in the box. All rise. Court is now in session. The Honorable Harry T. Stone presiding. This is On Trial, the podcast where we debate the merits of film. I am not an attorney. However, I am your mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, I am joined in the courtroom by...
Sean Comer.
By not Sean Comer. He's not Sean. And neither are you. He is the misfit and miscreant himself. He is the dungeon master. He plays with children in the community. That I didn't say the basement. I said an accurate statement. You play with children in the community.
You're going to get me interested.
Ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't know why he's here or why he puts up with my shenanigans. Ronnie Adams, how do you do, sir?
I am well. I put up with your shenanigans because I love you, Mark.
Well, thank you. I love you too, buddy.
Yeah.
So, if you're wondering, for those long-time fans, like, oh, don't you normally do this with Sean? Yeah, we have no parameters here anymore. But other than no parameters and no bananas, the other thing that happened was Ronnie messaged me a little ways back, and he was just like, put me on more podcast, boss. Like, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. And, it was like, oh, if this one doesn't want to commit, or if this one bails on you, or if this one doesn't want to do it, tag me in. And I was like, you know what? Between you and Dorian and a few other people who are like, we'd like to be on more stuff. I'm like, great. I'm not selecting a guest anymore. I'm just putting everybody on everything.
Right.
Whoever shows up, shows up. I am now running the Radulich and Broadcasting Network like a subway train.
Actually, the next Damn You Hollywood has 15 guests.
Roughly. We have the starting lineup of the New York Knicks. Anyway, so in all seriousness, I threw up doing this Twister review because it's one we never talked about. It's not one I ever really thought about doing a review for, but the sequel comes out, the standalone sequel comes out tomorrow, Twisters, and there was a time when I cared. There was a time when I actually did things like, hey, if a new movie is coming out, let's look back at the old movie. And I got out of that because it became too hard if somebody canceled on me to pick up and do the podcast well after when it would have been, people might have cared about it.
And
but
honestly,
I can't.
With Hollywood these days, you're going to have to do that for every movie that's released.
It becomes the On Trial Network.
Yeah.
But but I got back into doing it again with a couple of these. We got this one coming up. We got Beetlejuice coming up later. And then later on after that, we got Gladiator. And I was like, okay, but these are three movies. First of all, the Beetlejuice one legit does have like 20 people on it. I threw out like, hey, we're going to talk about the original Beetlejuice movie. And I, got run over like a cartoon character.
I think even I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, you saw the zombie horde coming and said, no, thank you.
Yeah.
So there's this one, there's the Beetlejuice. So we're looking at the original Beetlejuice movie. And then Gladiator 2, for some strange reason, is coming out later this year. So I threw Gladiator on the schedule. So yeah, Ronnie was like, hey, I'm up for Twister if you don't have anybody. And I said, you know what, I don't. So this is one of the few where it's just me and you. Nobody. I really didn't go after anybody else to talk about it. But you, when I threw out Twister, you were like, oh yeah, I'm in. And then I asked you a couple of times, like, are you going to rewatch the movie? He's like, I don't have to. I am a thespian. No, I like know the movie by heart. I know it backwards and forwards. I've watched it a zillion times. So it seemed like you were pretty excited to talk about Twister. Why is that?
It was one of those movies that kind of changed how I looked at filmmaking, to be honest with you, because of all the special effects they put in it. And it was honestly just about chasing storms. I mean, like, if you could make a movie about that, you could make a movie about anything. And they have tried since then to make a movie about anything. But it was just one of those things where, like, when I saw it when it first came out, and it made me actually want to be a storm chaser for a while. So that would actually be a really cool profession.
That's really funny, actually. Like, I saw it in a movie, and now I want to do it. Meanwhile, the goddamn tornadoes are like throwing cows and tractors and cars everywhere. Like, these people are almost dying. That looks like fun.
I'm glad you make me sound like Cletus the slack-jawed yokel when you talk about Hey, everybody. My name's Ronnie.
Hey, Ma, get off the damn roof.
What's the redneck's famous last words?
I don't know, Ronnie. What is the redneck's famous last words?
Hey, y'all, watch this.
Yeah, so you say you've watched it a whole bunch since then?
Yeah, and I actually rewatched it 2 days ago, or was it yesterday? Yesterday. Just because, well, I no matter what I say, I still watch. I think I've only missed like one or two movies, one or two shows, maybe a show and a movie that we've reviewed, but I've seen it before. But it was just one of those things where I was like, I wanted to kind of relive it as well, because it's been years since I've seen it,
right?
And since the sequel's coming out, some streaming network's going to have it, and it's on Max right now. So I was just like, oh heck yeah, let's watch it. Make sure, and then I was like, and it came down to like, oh, I need to watch it anyway. And so I finally sat down, turned it on, because it's been in my saved for maybe a week or so now. And just kind of looked at it, and some of it really held up.
Yeah.
Some of it did not, but it was still a fun ride.
Yeah, it comes out in 1996, and I'm 2 years into college at this point. I'm really like a nerdy film kid. I'm an indie movie snob. And I remember my initial reaction to Twister was, this looks like the dumbest thing ever. Like, how do you make a movie about tornadoes? That was my first thought. And then I saw who was in it. The bitch from Mad About You. And
I have some words about that.
And what is it? Hudson from Aliens.
Oh, yeah. Or random punk with mohawk from Terminator.
Right. Or older shitty brother from Weird Science.
Yeah. True.
He's an asshole. He's an asshole. You have a haircut like that, he's an asshole. One of my favorite lines of that movie. Dude, someday I got to talk about Weird Science on here. It's so good.
I'm down for it because I love that movie.
It's so funny. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. But so you have Helen Hunt, who, like I said, who at that point was really only known for Mad About You, but Mad About You was a hit show that was on for years. And you have Bill Paxton, who was never really a leading man. He was, even in a movie where he was the leading man, he wasn't really the leading man. Like, I'm thinking Predator 2.
Like, great character actor, though.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm not taking anything away from his abilities, but like, if you're like, we need a Bruce Willis, we need a Sylvester Stallone, you don't go Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton.
So
we need an action hero. Bill Paxton.
And then you have a very young looking Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Whoa.
What the hell?
After seeing it all, not seeing it over the years, but it's been, like I said, a while since I've seen it. Watching that and seeing him's like, oh, that's trippy. Oh, wow, he was young. But he really was. He was like 52 then.
You're 100. Why are you talking that way?
Right.
You have Cary Elwes, who I had known him from The Princess Bride, famously, and then Robin Hood Men in Tights, and he's great. But again, not necessarily a lead actor.
That
He's the
accent
villain in this thing.
More...
Yeah, a little bit. And then finally, you have Alan Ruck, who, you know, is the captain of the Enterprise in Star Trek VI, I believe it is.
And he was Ferris Bueller's best friend.
He was Cameron in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's in, you know, so it's like, we're going to throw, the star of this movie is the special effects, but we're going to fill up this movie with a bunch of B+ actors.
Oh, I can't remember his name. But he's that one guy. Oh gosh, let me look real quick. I apologize.
Is it Cary Elwes, like henchman, his goon, his driver?
No. It was the other henchman. It was the henchman, Bill Paxton's henchman.
The wife.
Sean Molen. Sean Molen.
Okay.
The redheaded guy that's in like everything.
Okay.
He was in The People Under the Stairs as Roach. He's Merkin and Never Been Kissed. Gosh, he's that face that you see, but you never go, oh, that's Sean Wallen. You're just like, oh, it's that guy. And hold on, let me see if you can see this on the camera.
Oh, him. Yeah.
see, it's him.
Right. And Jami Gertz is in this, who was in a whole bunch of movies I've seen back in the day. So like I said, my initial reaction was, this looks dumber than shit. And it's got a bunch of people who aren't stars in it. Whatever. But I think at the time, like I said, I saw everything back then. So I would imagine if I'm midway through college and I'm hanging out with my buddies from back then, I'm sure I got dragged to see this in the movie theater. And it was better than it had any right to be. It was a solid script. Yeah. Fast forward almost 30 years. And 96, 2006, 16, almost 30 years.
Yeah.
And in preparation for the podcast, because I watch everything before the podcast, and then people cancel on me, and then I wonder why I watched it. Just saying. I don't like having my time wasted.
I'm here.
I know you are. Thank you. I showed it to my kids, and I watched it with a real close eye, because I was thinking about what am I going to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah. And
all these years later, really watching it and really scrutinizing it and kind of talking about some of the craft elements with my kids, the movie holds up exceptionally well.
It really does.
This is a solid script.
Yeah.
And for a movie that the whole point of it is to show, it was to show you Industrial Light and Magic's new CGI technology in 1996. And I think it's in 4 years we're going to get the Phantom Menace, which is practically an animated movie. Yeah. So when you think about like CGI now, you think of like Avengers Endgame, and it's so seamless, and and you can't even tell how much of that is animated. Look at where we started back in 1996, and look at where we had come from. I just showed my son Terminator for the first time.
Whoa, yeah.
And I told him, pay special attention to when Arnold Schwarzenegger has to pull out his eyeball. And he laughed his ass off at that. The obvious cut to a puppet.
Yeah.
So from the 80s Terminator to 1996 to 2019, it's interesting to look at where we've come in terms of computer generated imagery.
Oh, absolutely.
But the other elements of it, the acting, the dialogue, the plot structure, a lot of it really, really works. And I made sure to point that out to my kids. Like this is solid movie making. So let's get into it. Twister was wildly successful. It was made on a budget of about $92 million. And this was a grand slam in its time.
When you think about the budget, $92 million is nothing today.
Yeah, $92 million was an indie film.
Yeah, and now and back then 92 was like unheard of.
Right. Yeah, this was an expensive movie in 1996. It was a joint venture between Universal and Warner Brothers when they used to do so. It was like it's like WCW and WWE putting on a pay-per-view.
Right.
But yeah, they shared distribution of this, which is why it's on Max now. It made almost $500 million in that, like, crazy. Right now, studios are praying anything makes $500 million. This in its time was like knocked it out of the damn park.
Well, you think of $500 million on a $96 million budget.
Yeah.
What's quintupled?
Yeah.
Its budget. Holy crap.
It was the second highest grossing film of 1996.
96. The first highest was Independence Day.
The year 1996 involved many significant films: Scream, Independence Day, Fargo, Trainspotting, The Rock, The English Patient, Twister, Space Jam, Mission Impossible, Mars Attacks, Jerry Maguire, and the musical, the film version, Evita. So, it also received generally positive reviews from critics. It received Academy Award nomination for Best Visual Effects and Best Sound. And that's why today, as they're mining any IP they can for sequels, this one got a sequel. Like when I was thinking about when I initially saw the trailer for Twisters, I was like, why would they do this? And then you realize because it was successful the first time. So Top Gun Maverick, like we I talked about that 2 weeks ago with Neil and Chris from Movies That Don't Suck. I said, we got all of these 30-year-old sequels now, like Beverly Hills Cop and Twister and Top Gun Maverick, and they all don't work. But for everyone that doesn't work, there's a Top Gun Maverick or a Beverly Hills Cop Axel F out there. So
Axel F was incredible.
It really look. Don't assume I said bad things about it. I raved.
No, I don't, because I remember I actually listened. Wait a minute, did you do it yet?
Yes, the one with Neil and Chris.
I listened to it because I wanted to know your opinion, and you were also talking very highly of it in the podcast chat we had.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, Mark really loved this, and I watched it. I was like, no wonder this is like, if I think it's incredible, Mark's like, so, and this blew my mind that he still has it after all these years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did a really good job with it. And that's so look, it's not that hard. Care about what you're doing. Know why the first one was successful, and more of that, with a modern twist.
Yeah, he cares about Axel Foley as a character, but back to Twister. I mean, I'm a little concerned about what they're going to do with the sequel, because no Bill Paxton,
or
no Seymour Hoffman, Helen Hunt. Did Helen Hunt?
I think everyone's either dead or Helen Hunt became the Crypt Keeper. Like there's nobody left.
Did not. Yeah,
there's nobody left from the first movie, so it's basically like, tornadoes are still a thing, so we can keep doing this.
Something that was injected in her stole her vitality instead of giving it. It was just like,
she was touched by a dark elf. Anyway, so
up and just
I want to read a little bit of the development and writing, because I think this is interesting history here. So for those who's like, wait, just talk about the movie. Hang on. There's some stuff here that I think is interesting to read through. So Twister was produced by Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment with financial backing from Warner Brothers Pictures and Universal. So that's how they did the distribution right. The pitch was not a script, but a proof of concept clip of the visual effects by Industrial Light and Magic, done entirely in computer-generated imagery and featuring a pickup truck driving towards a tornado pulling up a tractor, with one of its tires snapping off and smashing through the truck's windshield. Industrial Light and Magic assigned Stephen Fangmeyer to be the effects supervisor for his experience with tornadoes, having helped create simulations while working with the storm chasers and the National Center for Supercomputing Applications. So right there, you can tell there was a lot of time and effort and care put into trying to make an accurate portrayal of what these storms do and how they behave and what the people who have to live with them go through, which was funny because when I showed this to my son, genius that he is, he goes, so let me get this straight. They live in an area where every 5 minutes a fucking hurricane a tornado goes off. Why do you live there? And and he turned into Sam Kinison on me. He was just like, move! Don't live where the tornadoes are.
If you don't want to get hit by a tornado, then move.
And I had to explain to him, like, Los Angeles is beset by earthquakes. They seem to live around it. You have hurricanes here in your home state of Florida, Jonas. We don't move because of that, do we? Like, they just learn to deal with this,
We live inland. No.
Yeah. There's nowhere to live if you're trying to avoid natural disasters of some kind. This whole planet, shakes and spits and moves.
Virginia.
It
is a national. No, I love my home state.
I also know for a fact North Carolina gets hit by hurricanes.
Oh, absolutely. Tornadoes, hurricanes.
Yeah. Wildfires.
Opioid epidemic.
Yeah. Natural disasters. So the other one I was saying, like, volcanoes are perfectly safe until one of them goes off.
Right.
Ask the people
all of California, you mean?
Yeah, ask the people of Hawaii. But I do find that interesting in the history of this, that much time and energy was put into, making sure if we're going to do a movie about tornadoes, we need to make that front and center. Spielberg himself was originally attached to direct the project, and directors such as James Cameron, John Badham, Tim Burton, and could you imagine if this was Tim Burton? The fucking tornado would be like Dracula chasing people.
I know.
Like, blah, I'm going to throw your cow.
It would just be Johnny Depp swirling around with a black costume.
Johnny Depp with a bottle of rum spinning in a circle.
Exactly.
But why is the rum gone? Shut up, Johnny Depp.
It'd be Winona Ryder as Joe.
Yeah, it'd be a whole other movie. Before Jan de Bont signed on to Twister after leaving Godzilla due to creative differences. Oh, poor Jan de Bont.
Jan de Bont.
Jan. De Bont was invited by Spielberg after the success of directorial debut Speed, which was released in 1994, following a long career as a director of photography, and described the project as a grim fairy tale where the monster comes out of the dark clouds. Michael Crichton and his wife and co-author Anne Marie Martin were paid $2.5 million for a screenplay, which started being written in January of 1994. Crichton said the two bases for the script were a PBS documentary about storm chasers and the plot of a romantic comedy, His Girl Friday, where a newspaper editor and his ex, who's engaged to another man, do one last job together. Oh boy, is that this movie?
That's okay.
Yeah. Solid idea they played with there.
Yeah.
Two screenwriters would later sue, because of course they would. The studios claiming Twister was taken from their ideas. Daniel Perkins, whose script Tornado Chasers dealt with the military harnessing tornadoes as weapons. Okay. And settled for an undisclosed amount. Goddamn weather machines. And Stephen B. Kessler, author of a script about storm chasers in Oklahoma called Catch the Wind, and whose case was eventually dismissed. I feel like he would have the stronger case, but whatever. I don't want to get into it. Dorothy, which is the technology they use in the movie, was inspired by Toto, an instrumental barrel-shaped device used to research tornadoes in the 1980s. DuPont. All right, so I don't need to read any more of this, but that's you get the point there.
Yeah.
So that's how we got to 1996 Twister. All right, so here's what happens in this movie. Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt's characters are separated. They are in the process of divorce, and why today is a different day. Well, first, Helen Hunt is still chasing Storm. She has her crew of people around her, and we spend the first 10 to 20 minutes of the movie just meeting her crew, all 87 of them. And we get to know their little individual personalities and what they do, what it takes to be a storm chasing crew, because it's one thing to be in the truck running after the tornado going, Yahoo! If you feel it, chase it, but there's got to be a guy with the data, and there's a map guy, and there's this guy and that guy. So we get to establish how all these people function in this endeavor. And Bill Paxton used to be one of them, but he has decided to move on with his life. He's going to be a weatherman. He's marrying a sex psychologist. It's all great. And like every good marriage that falls apart, he's ready to get it over with, and the wife is dragging her feet. So anyway, so he shows up to force the issue and say, sign the divorce papers, you whore. And she's like, but tornadoes.
What the heck?
Well, that's
it's a much better movie than that. Trust me.
That's what happens. So why is today different than any other day? Well, for years they had been working on a prototype machine where if they set it out in front of a tornado, the tornado would pick it up. Out would come these sensors. The sensors would then give readings of the tornado. And the object here is to create a situation where they have 15 to 20 minutes of warning where they know a tornado is going to hit.
Instead of 3.
Yeah, instead of 3 minutes. So it's about saving lives. That is the greater good. The greater good. And so at first, Bill Paxton's like, no, I love another woman and I must get the papers signed, you whore. And Helen Hunt's like, no, Bill Paxton, we must chase the tornadoes. We have the Dorothy, don't you understand? And he's like, all right, let me see what you got here. And so they chase the first tornado, and then we are introduced to the villain, who is Cary Elwes, and he's every villain in every movie. He has the technology. He is Ivan Drago. He has greater technology. He has fancier cars, and he has a goon squad. Yep. And so the first tornado, Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton's like, all right, well, I hate this guy, and he allegedly stole Bill Paxton's idea for the Dorothy. So now they've got their own, and it's a race to see who can get this cylinder up this tornado's cone first.
Yeah.
So right up it. Up the cone.
Right up the funnel.
Yeah, right up the funnel. It's a race to see who can stick their cylinder in the funnel first.
Oh, I love you.
So anyway, so Bill Paxton's like, I will give you 1 day because I hate this guy so much that I'm willing to risk my new relationship over this. And Helen Hunt's like, all I care about is tornadoes. And it's important to know that the movie opens up with her father being sucked up by a tornado when she was a child. So she's a little PTSD'd and obsessed.
Yeah, he originally wasn't supposed to die.
Oh no. Was
no,
he supposed to come back with little tornadoes that from the family he started?
Yeah. He was. He actually fell in love with the tornado.
Yeah, right.
No, he was supposed to survive the encounter with Joe as a kid, but her obsession didn't make sense. So Steven Spielberg produced it, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you kill the dad?
Right.
That makes more sense." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And so that's where her obsession with everything came from. And I was like, well, at least they had him to suggest that.
Yeah.
That would have made it a worse movie if they were like,
yeah, it's a good enough motivation. All right.
Where would the obsession come from? I saw it. Yeah, that'd be enough for me not to go near it again.
Yes, that would send me in the other direction. There are, I believe, 3 instances of them encountering a tornado where they tried to get the Dorothy thing to happen. The first one, they don't even get it off the truck, or they do, but it like falls off and it tips over, and
they run into the trees. They run into the bridge.
Yeah.
So
the first time, Joe and Bill Paxton's character,
Bill,
is really that simple? Yeah, Joe and Joe and Bill. So the first time Joe and Bill try to get this done, they can't even get the thing off the truck, or if it tips over, or whatever. They lose. I think they lose the first truck in its entirety. The crashing.
Slows it back down on the road.
Right. So that's try number 1. Then they go and they introduce another character. It's Joe's aunt, and there's the movie where they're not dealing with tornado stuff. The movie deals with the dissolution of this marriage, and I'll talk about it in the craft review, but I really identified a lot with what Bill Paxton was saying.
Sure.
But basically their whole story is, he wants a relationship and they chase tornadoes, and she just wants to chase tornadoes, and the expectation is he's supposed to chase after her. And he was like, no, I'm tired of this. And she was just like, but my father. So that's all of their dialogue throughout this entire fucking movie. And along the way is a POV character who is played by Jami Gertz, who is the new fiance of Bill Paxton, and she's there to explain tornado shit too. But she's also there with the audience to like react to what's going on, and then she's there to be jilted in the end when she realizes Joe and Bill still love each other. So anyway, they meet the aunt, and the aunt's like, maybe stop being so obsessed with tornadoes and love the guy that loves you. I'm just saying. And they take a time out to sort of get to know the characters a little bit more and a little bit more about Jo and her situation with Bill. The second time around, they get the thing off the truck, they get it in the road, but the machine itself is too light and just gets knocked over, and the sensors don't have any lift, so they just roll out on the ground. And so what they figure out is not only do they need to get this thing in front of the tornado, but they also they need to have the sensors be able to be lifted out of the machine. So they collect a whole bunch of soda cans and they make little wings for
like
so
propellers.
So basically, when the tornado comes by the Dorothy, the thing will spring open, the stuff will fly out, and air will be able to lift them up, and they'll successfully make lobster. Great. So along the way, Cary Elwes is chasing one of the tornadoes. They're saying, "Don't go that way," and he's saying, but I am the villain, and I will not listen to you," and proceeds to die. They get like road debris,
horrific
window.
fashion.
Yeah, like the driver gets like speared in the face. So the third time around, they've got two Dorothys left. They
people listening to this going right now, going, "Holy! I never want to watch this."
There's a whole thing where Jo basically, where he's just like, "You're doing this to the exclusion of all else, and this is why I didn't want to be with you in the first place." And she goes, "But you don't understand, my father." And and she has a line in the movie. You've never seen a tornado miss that house and miss this house and miss that house and hit yours directly. And he was like, "What?" It's like, "Is that what you think happened? The tornado had it out for you?" The tornado manifested arms and was like, "I'll get you, Helen Hunt. I hate Mad About You. Fuck Paul Reiser."
That to me was the most not purposefully funny moment of that movie. He's like, "What? You think that's what happened?"
Right.
He came after you.
Well, it's every conversation ever between a man and a woman where the woman is emotional and illogical, and the guy is just like, "What?" Nothing works that way. Everyone turns into Jax from Sons of Anarchy. Nothing here works.
Oh my gosh, that's the best
The
part of that
emotion
movie.
brain and the logic brain are fun together. It's some wonder we procreate. Anyway, so he finally like shakes some sense into her, and then they figure out how to make Dorothy fly, and they successfully do it. They get the thing out in front of the tornado, but now that they've done this, they are now caught without a truck in the tornado's path. So they have to find shelter, which they do, and they lash themselves to a pipe that is planted in the ground, and the tornado washes right over them. Yes,
in the barn that was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah,
there were just blades hanging everywhere. And there's just like there were scythes and axes and knives, and pretty sure I saw a longsword in there somewhere.
Sure.
And she goes, "Who are these people?" And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, Jonas mentioned that too. This is like, how are they not being killed by all those knives?
Right. Well done.
So anyway, the tornado comes. It throws the house, but they are lashed to the pipe, and it's not strong enough to pick the pipe up. So they are saved, and Helen Hunt gets over her trauma, and they fall in love again. All is well in Oklahoma.
Humans Being by Van Halen plays in the background.
Yeah. So that's Twister. All right. I've been talking for a while. That's Twister. So I've been talking for a while. I want to get your thoughts. Tell me about, don't just say it's great. Tell me individually the craft elements, what you thought of this movie.
It's fantastic.
Okay, great. Plugs. Thanks,
No,
Jason.
I thought it was incredibly well made. I mean, even now, like you said, it holds up really well. Some of the special effects are a little spotty, but that's to be expected from almost 30 years ago. I mean,
yeah, you wouldn't have noticed it back then.
Years old. And but the thing that got me to want to see it, to be honest with you, that got me pumped to see it was they in the trailer. I specifically remember the cow.
Yeah, we have cow.
We have cows. Another cow. I don't know. I think that was the same one. We have the same cow, and it's just like I'm fascinated by storms anyway.
Are you really?
Yeah. I mean, they terrify me if they're like crazy, but I mean, I'm fascinated because of the raw power in nature and God's creation and whatever else you want to call it. There's just so much unharnessed power in that it is terrifying, that it could cause PTSD. If you go look something like that right in the face. It's not. You see all these movies where the man stands on the boat and challenges the storm. No, I'm peeing myself and hanging on for dear life. I mean, it's just crazy of how much chaos is in there, and then all of a sudden, poof, it's gone.
Right,
and it's peace again. You hear the birds singing and everything else, all while your Honda is in a tree somewhere. And, and that house is no longer at 14 Baker Street. It's at 24 Baker Street down the road.
Yeah.
And it's just, we actually, was a child when I think it was a baby. I don't remember. My mom tells me about it. We lived, I'm from West Virginia. So we were living in a hollow between two mountains. And in West Virginia, it's not tornado country because of the mountains, but we did have one touchdown in our hollow. And it was a small one that went down the road, and it sounded like a train, she said. And it tore stuff up, but left the houses alone because it wasn't that big. But she said it was terrifying. And I was like, and I think after hearing that as a kid, I wanted to see this. And this movie was a perfect chance for me to like kind of live that, I guess. And thankfully it was very well made, and, especially for 1996. It was the second top grossing movie. The first one was Independence Day with $816 million, I think. It was almost $1 billion. But this was it was one of those things where like the special effects, even the acting, everything came into it. Just all came together so well. And her crew was my favorite part of it, because they were all nuts, every one of them.
Yeah. Dude, Philip Seymour Hoffman looked like he had done like an 8-ball of coke right before every scene.
It was Philip Seymour Hoffman, so he probably did. I say that with respect for the man, but he respectfully, you're a cokehead. He was a crackhead. But he was fantastic in it, and the aunt was just their safe haven, and even I felt comfortable. Like when they were there, I almost felt like I wanted to be sitting at the table with them and talking and eating steak and eggs, which looked amazing.
Yeah, but, my God, those steaks almost jumped through the television.
Right, they look so good.
I forgot to mention in the plot synopsis, one of the bits with the hurricanes is it takes up the aunt's house.
Yeah, but she does survive, which I was afraid.
And stupid dog.
Don't you say stupid dog?
Oh my God. 20 minutes on that stupid dog.
I love dogs, so I was glad the dog survived. So you leave the dog.
It's not like I wanted the hurricane to kill the tornado to kill the dog, but they spent too long looking for it.
They literally just said, "Hey, find the dog," and they were just like, "Hey, where are you?" And he's like, "Bark, bark," and ran out.
I'm already bored by this conversation.
Oh my God, but the whole thing of it is like, when I said that I wanted to be a storm chaser, yes, because it was so interesting, and they showed all the important details to it. It's just not a bunch of random hobos looking for a storm and taking They were all scientists. They were all nuttier than a fruitcake, but they were all scientists, and each specifically had a job to do,
right, to
make this come together. And I was like, that would be the coolest thing ever. Then I realized that I could possibly die doing that. And I was like, well, we'll just leave that to them. And then, but it was just a really cool concept for a movie that was done so well that I was afraid it was going to miss, but it didn't. And like you said, it's much better than it had any business being, and solid script. even a love story in it. Poor Jami Gertz, but I'm telling you, like back in the day, Helen Hunt was a dime piece, man. She was a smoke show in that movie. I guess
her running around in that tank top. Arrgh.
She was a smoke show, dude. And then Jami Gertz was nothing
I'm
I'm
not making fun of her. Dude,
I know.
At the height of her powers, when she was on Man About You, Helen Hunt was babe. You know, and then when you see her in Twister, like you don't get Sigourney Weaver vibes from Helen Hunt until you see her running around in Twister in the tank top, and you're like, oh my god, Sigourney Weaver in the in the tight underpants and in the tight
underpants and the tank top and the
like okay, so you can be in our club. Helen
exactly.
Hunt.
She was gorgeous, and I'm like, and even I was scratching my head like, okay, Jami Gertz is pretty, but my god, man, look what you got right there. But it was just, it had the beautiful leading woman. It had Bill Paxton, leading man. But and then Philip Seymour Hoffman's interaction with Jami Gertz were amazing.
Oh my god! Okay, so I gotta jump in. One of the great strengths of Twister is how real it feels. I don't think I appreciated in 1996 how real these characters felt to me, because in 2024, half of those conversations between Joe and Bill I've had with Melissa, straight up. Okay, like them talking about not feeling seen and heard, and you were too obsessed with this one thing, and you didn't put any effort in, and I got tired of waiting around for you to notice me. Like I'm sitting there watching this with my kids, going, "Hey guys, you want to know what happened with me and your mom? Just keep watching. It's right here, minus the tornadoes." I'm making light of it, but somewhere in there is some solid writing about what happens to a couple
with relationships.
With relationships, and then the introduction to the Jami Gertz character that also felt real. Bill Paxton, was with this wild woman, and he was living the dream, and then it turned into a nightmare, and he was like, I need to shift gears and find an adult. And that, and the adult is right there with him going, okay, let's go live an adult life here. And he's like, well, hang on. I do want to live an adult life, but for today, I have to go be a child.
Give me a second. Let me put this one level.
Right. Yeah. Let me watch this one last movie. Let me play this one last video game. Let me go to this one last concert. And I promise you, I'll be an adult from now on. And she's like, all right, I love you that much that I'm willing to give you a day. And then by the end of it, she's like, yeah, you're in love with this too. You might actually be in love with the other woman, but you're more in love with this old life than you led me to believe. And like her line about, I can't compete with this.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, that hits me where I live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe if I can't identify with it personally, like I'm trying to think of any time in my life I've felt that or been told that or experienced it, but I've definitely heard that said by other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was that, the goofy scientists. It's like, I was having this conversation recently, and I said, I hate what's happened with nerd culture, because, and I was telling somebody this. I said, a real nerd is somebody who likes to learn. It has nothing to do necessarily with fantasy and science fiction. Nerds like fantasy and science fiction because of the intellectual element in them, and because everybody likes to have a place where they can get away from this world.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is how fantasy operates. So, nerds are people who like to research. Nerds are people who like to learn. Right. So I said, I hate the fact that, now when you say nerd, it's like, oh, nerds are people who read Marvel comics and watch those movies. And it's like, it's so much more than that. And not every nerd does that. You're really painting with too wide a brush.
Absolutely.
And so I love the fact that the scientist characters were absolutely nerds. You would have to be a nerd to become a scientist. They kind of go hand in hand, but they're also eccentric and weird and funny, because we know people like that. We know insanely smart people who also have the social skills of a starfish mid-flight. They just they just don't know what's going on. They don't know how to interact with people. And so I'm watching Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he's clearly like playing an intelligent human being who has the social skills of John Belushi from Animal House. And so I was funny. I was talking about this on the Wes Anderson podcast last year with Sean. Wes Anderson always wants to show you something. He's like that weird, nerdy, autistic kid at a party who's like, I would like to tell you about the aliens I'm really into right now. Oh my God, Wes. We're trying to get laid. Please shut up.
Yeah. I know I can name 2 people off the top of my head right now that every time I'm around it, hey, have I shown you this?
Have I told you the thing I'm obsessing about? Please.
No, you haven't. And then one tear falls down my cheek as the rest of my friends go away.
I would like to show you my etchings now. Get the fuck away from me.
Did I tell you that I can read Sanskrit? Here's this whole book. Like, oh God.
Please stop. Go touch a boob. Anyway.
With consent.
With consent. With consent. Yeah. Anyway, so I love the fact that in the writing that those were very true moments. Those felt like very real people. You can't do 2 hours of just chasing tornadoes. So they fill the script with and a lot of movies fuck this up. Like they know they just can't give you car chases or tornadoes or hurricanes or the heist. This movie has to be about something else. They have to fill it with stuff. And the things they did, the relationships they built, that all was solid, like no questions asked. My problems with this movie are nothing having to do with the movie itself. Weirdly enough, when I watched it and I was looking for things to comment about, I didn't have any. I genuinely don't have any complaints about this movie. It's darn near perfect. Yeah. My complaints about it are Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton aren't stars. But the star really isn't the actors in the movie. They have to be there or you have no movie. The star is the tornado. And they gave, and this is one of the things I really pay attention to. Did they give you enough tornado to make this a worthwhile viewing experience? And the answer is yeah. There are 4 or 5 solid action-packed tornado scenes. And maybe, if I have to find a quibble, maybe they're a little too long. This clocks in almost 2 hours exactly. It's 113 minutes. You probably could have cut this 13 minutes and made this 100 minutes, and it might, because not that it drags, but I think some of the action sequences are a little too long, and also I think some of the times where they stop and take a breath, they're at the aunt's house for a little too long. And even my kids picked up with that. Why did we need a cut of Helen Hunt in the shower? Is this going anywhere? Are we doing anything with this? They don't though. They that whole scene at the aunt's house, it felt like they were padding the runtime.
Yeah, I get that.
It does she looks at the divorce papers at all, or or she finds something in the room that becomes important later in the movie. We're just cutting in between this group of rowdy people eating steaks and her taking a shower, and then she's done taking a shower. So by comparison, Age of Ultron, where Banner and Scarlet Witch pass each other in the shower, and they have a moment. Yeah, and she's and this ass kicking, assassin is very vulnerable with this rage monster for a moment. And okay, well, that's why it's there. Was it also a tasteful shot of Scarlett Johansson's naked body? Sure, but also there's something going on with those two characters, and they captured it in that moment. What's going on in the scene where she's taking a shower, other than she's taking a shower? And and again, it's not even a lurid shot. I kind of elbow Jonas, oh, here comes a tasteful shot of Helen Hunt's buttocks, and there's my daughter, just throws a paper bag over her head and says, I'm so ashamed. And then they don't even give you that much. So, yeah. Gun to my head, anything wrong with this movie? A little too long in spots. Could use some tightening up, and a lot of the stuff at the aunt's house didn't need to be there. Besides that, I don't have any other complaints, Ronnie.
The only thing that I can really defend because I kind of agree with it. It was a little long in some of the action sequences. Was the aunt's house was like a moment of peace in the chaos.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was just long enough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could have cut some stuff out of it, and the shower scene, I get it. Unless they just want you thinking about Helen Hunt in the shower,
Sure, which I get.
Which you get. It also set up the speech from the aunt, didn't it? Yeah, because she was getting out of the shower and drying her hair, and she was talking to her. So, I mean, you get that whole speech from the aunt because she catches her at a vulnerable moment where she says, "Hey, you need to, poop or get off the pot." Basically.
There's more in this life. There's more in this life than just tornadoes.
Right. And so that's the only thing that I can really, really defend on that, is because I think it was just long enough, because even I was just like, okay, how many tornadoes are there near them? It's like you got
that was my son. I'll tell you what my son's big complaint was. He was like, how many fucking tornadoes are going to be in this movie?
Right?
Like, at this point, what's left of Oklahoma? And it's exaggerated for film purposes. I didn't have a problem with it. But there are natural weather phenomena that happen in bunches. Like, I remember Todd Schnitt here in Florida was talking about the year there were 2 tornadoes crossing each other in Florida. Like, hello, neighbor. So does this stuff like that happen?
That's
sure.
horrifying in its own.
Yeah, could you imagine? Like, you get hit by a hurricane, you start to clean up, and then here comes another hurricane. You're just like, wait,
whoa.
There's still trees in the street.
maybe never mind. Shut up, Ronnie.
All right. Anything else? If not, I think we're gonna close up shop here. I mean,
no, yeah, I think you did a great job of running it down, and honestly, even 30 years later, 28 years later, it's still worth a watch.
I like I said, I went into it back when I was a college student thinking this is going to be dumber than shit. I ended up really enjoying it, and then with hindsight and a lifetime of experiences and a marriage and kids behind me, I actually identify more with this movie than I ever have or ever would have.
Yeah.
If you are a middle-aged adult and you're okay with sitting through a disaster flick without being bored to tears, you really can't do much better than Twister. It is, it's so funny because I can just imagine some of the people that we're friends with. Shut up, Ronnie. Who, when I say like it's darn near perfect, be like, no, it has all of this, this, and this. I'm like, but honestly, it really is like a darn near perfect movie. And it's a weird thing to say about something as goofy as the movie with the chick from Mad About You running after tornadoes next to the guy, who was Chet in Weird Science.
It makes me think of how many movies we missed out on with Helen Hunt as a leading lady, like as a true leading lady, not like romantic comedies or anything like that, but something with substance.
Could you imagine her as Lara Croft?
Oh, now I do, and I love it.
I think she would have done a better job. Like we tend to think of Angelina Jolie because she's done a slew of action movies.
Big toe would have done a better job than Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, I actually don't think Helen Hunt would have.
She'd have crushed.
Been a bad job as It's funny. She's too old to do it now, but they're trying to find a gender swapped Indiana Jones. Could you imagine Helen Hunt at the height of her powers as an Indiana Jones type character?
Oh, gross.
She'd have been better than Fleabag.
You're right.
All right.
You're right.
If there's nothing else, Ronnie, 3, 2, 1. Yes.
I'm good, brother.
All right. Well, folks, that is our review of Twister here on Trial. Not guilty. Here's the verdict.
I win. No kidding.
Right. Ronnie wins. Ronnie won. Mark 0. All right. So that's it. That's it for the week. This is Ronnie's second appearance and second time he was prepared here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. I'm so proud of you, Ronnie. You did the homework. You showed up on time, kinda. You did really good. Why are you making faces?
I prepare for your stuff. And you know I do. You raging douche.
Hey, Ronnie, did you see Bad Boys 4? No, but I remember the other Bad Boys
okay,
movies.
now you're getting into money and time.
Oh my God.
He works 2 jobs and takes a third one every once in a while when
so-
somebody needs a DM for a party or something.
Okay, so I got to add another rule to the Ronnie's podcast list. Don't make him watch anything within the last year.
Well, I mean, I can tell you if I'm going to be able to make it or not, and it's whether I can actually pay my daggone mortgage or not.
Make my podcast a priority. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I'm in a tent right now, but thankfully we have public Wi-Fi in Burlington, North Carolina.
I'm in a tent outside the local AMC because Mark's a giant douchebag.
And I lost my house because I had to quit work to come watch movies for him.
Anyway, so yes, Ronnie, good to his mother. He was on our Sons of Anarchy season 6 podcast. That was a lot of fun. We had I haven't cut it yet for TikTok, but that's our gun control conversation. I was quite proud of. Did a good job there. So
thank you.
Next week we've got we'll have our review of Twisters on Damn You Hollywood. It'll be myself, Robert, theoretically Jason. We'll see what happens. And then Sean has taken a couple of months off. He's in theory going to be back. This is the podcast that he suggested. But hey, also Dorian Price has wanting to be on more stuff. So I'm hoping at least one of them shows up. We're supposed to talk Mike Flanagan movies. We're talking Oculus, Hush, and Gerald's Game. So
usually I'm like, bro, I've got your back, but on that one, you're on your own, Hoss.
That's either one of them shows up or it's never gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen there. So that's what we got going on here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. Ronnie, why don't you tell us about all the games you play with the children in the street?
Oh my God.
What?
I'm a DM, a dungeon master, a game master.
That's right. Check out his collection of floggers and paddles. Check out his collection of floggers and paddles. Like Cat of Nine Tails. Sorry, I'm running up.
Oh my God! If I have to jim the camera with you one more time. I work for a local game shop where I run role-playing games, trading card games, and things like that for them. I am a dungeon master for hire or a game master for hire. I love different kinds of RPGs. And so much so that I now have a brand new stream of one every Sunday at 6. We say 6 on the schedule, but that's just so everybody will show up on time on my end. At 6:30 to 9:30, 10-ish, we are playing Dungeons and Dragons. We're going with levels 1 through 5 for Lost Mine of Phandelver, which does have some extra writing in it. I'm changing some of the stuff and making it a little more interesting. And then we're skipping levels 5 to 9, doing some kind of a Lost Years thing with them. And we're going straight into Vecna, Eve of Ruin. Now, that is a level 10 to 20, which will be so much fun. So if you haven't watched it, please come watch it. It's a lot of fun. We do interact with our crowd. That's our chat. Sometimes for the detriment of the stream, but no, it's a lot of fun. I've got a great group of people. We've actually grown by 2, so we unfortunately lost one, and then we are replacing that person with 2, and we do have someone that is out for right now, but she'll be back soon. So I have 6 players, 6 different personalities, 6 different characters. And they're all, just wonderful to, it's been a lot of fun. And we've done 4 sessions so far. Session 5 is coming up on Sunday. Today is the 18th. So it'd be Sunday, the 21st. And it is actually underneath my name, like right beside my name, Ronnie, twitch.tv/misfits and miscreants. So you can follow us there on Instagram and TikTok. And Facebook. You can actually like us on Facebook. We do post stuff on there as well. I'm starting to warm up to X once again, now that it is not the toxic wasteland of Twitter, which is still kind of a toxic wasteland, but it's getting a little better. Or maybe it's just who I follow. But yeah, find us on all socials, and yeah, it's we got other stuff planned, other RPGs and little one shots and mini campaigns and long standing campaigns planned, as well as just me sitting there talking to you or with someone, interviewing them about Magic the Gathering or Disney's Lorcana or D&D or other games. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We actually streamed the Multiverse of Burlington is to give them a shout out is where we stream. And we had a Lorcana store tournament there, which I streamed all 6.5 hours of it for the championship. And it was a lot of fun to watch them play. Also, if I can give a shout out one more of the Totally Awesome Comics in Mebane, North Carolina. They're amazing guys there. And that's it.
So Ronnie will be back actually September 5th you're on the list for the on title for Beetlejuice. So I guess it was Beetlejuice is what you dove off of.
Oh yeah.
He'll also the next Whiskey Rebellion. We haven't done one of those in a little bit. But the next one was actually one that Ronnie decided we're just going to talk old school wrestling. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Ronnie's in charge of that show. But we're talking old
NWA. We're going to talk about Mid-South. We're going to talk about Smoky Mountain. We're going to talk about WCW The Good Years. We're going to talk about WWF. We're going to talk about Death Rose and Ric Flair.
I will do my best. I grew up in the North. I grew up in the North. I grew up with WWF. Another one that Ronnie suggested.
About WWF.
Another one that Ronnie suggested. The last time he was on here, we decided we're going to do a long road to ruin on the 221 Jump Street movies with Channing Tatum. Those look fun. And then this one's a passion project for me. And Ronnie decided, I don't know why, but Ronnie decided to throw himself into this one. We're doing a triple feature that focuses on American remakes of French films.
When the heck did I do that?
A specific kind of French film. So we're looking at Blame It on Rio, LOL from 2012, and The Woman in Red from 1984. And honestly, I just wanted an excuse to talk about Blame It on Rio since I reference it all the time.
Yeah, it's true.
And then Ron will be back on another Whiskey Rebellion with hopefully Andrew Graham. We'll be doing our Veterans Day show. And then one, Ronnie decided that he wanted to be a part of a Richard Donner focus. We're talking The Goonies, Lady Hawk, and Maverick. Not Top Gun, just Maverick with Mel Gibson. And then finally, he'll be on Red One, the On Trial for Gladiator, Wicked, and that's it for the year. So those are all the... So if you like Ronnie, and who doesn't, that'll be all the shows that he's going to be on. All right, so for the Dungeon Master, Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy Podcast, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.